Hi, I'm David Fetter, Executive Editor Technical for the Prepared Foods Network, welcoming you all to another Prepared Foods video podcast. Every year, experts declare chocolate as the #1 favorite flavor in the world. Meanwhile, news reports lately are trumpeting warnings of an impending global chocolate shortage due to multiple factors ranging from climate shifts, cocoa blights, aging plantations, and then there's the economic meltdown of the past 3 years. So what is our chocolate-loving planet going to do? I mean, it's a given. Chocolate's irreplaceable. Or is it? I want to introduce you all to Adam Maxwell. He's CEO and founder, and Kelsey Tenney, founding team member, VP of R&D for Voyage Foods, Inc. And they developed a vegan, cocoa-free chocolate replacer. It's allergen and GMO-free, and it is positively, unequivocally amazing. I tried their product at Natural Products Expo West last March, and I had to interview them because what they've done is nothing short of alchemy. So welcome, Kelsey and Adam.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. And it's much more realizable than alchemy.
Oh, okay, good. So I don't recall who snagged me as I walked past y'all's booth at Nat Expo West, but good on whoever it was, because I'm going to be honest. When I saw cocoa-free chocolate, my cynical self was prepared to give it a miss. And one of your sample vehicles was cocoa-free chocolate-coated pretzel. I swear, in a blind tasting, nothing would give it away that it wasn't 100% chocolate. Perfect flavor, perfect texture, and I was, no exaggeration, stunned. So let's jump right in. How did y'all do it?
Well, given that Kelsey deserves the real credit for where we got to, I can let her talk to it in a more detail-oriented manner. But I think the initial root spark that became kind of now what is all Voyage Foods across categories, et cetera, was really just this idea of chocolate doesn't grow on trees, right? There's nothing, unlike a strawberry or strawberry flavor, that what we consume as chocolate is a product of process. And a cocoa seed out of a cocoa pod tastes foundationally nothing like what the wonderful experience and joy we get from eating a chocolate bar, a chocolate chip cookie, et cetera. And what that tells you is our experience, I think people actually crave, is not the cocoa plant. It is the experience of consumption of chocolate. That cocoa seed goes through a number of different processes and then comes out as this beautiful visceral ingredient. And the thought was, why can't we take other things that have somewhat similar precursors and turn them into that, right? And then I think that's the very easy answer. And then Kelsey can give more info on the laborious, painstaking, heavily patented, complex, data-oriented workflows that kind of went into actually doing the thing versus the easy thing is of thinking of the thing.
Oh, yeah. And so Kelsey, jumping off from that, was it just trial and error as far as choosing those main ingredients, or what?
Yeah, there's inherently a little bit of trial and error in science, but you go to the table with some educated guesses. So as Adam was talking about, you can use the starting point and the process by which that starting ingredient becomes the final product as a map, so to speak. And you can pick parts of that you'd like to emulate in something else. So if we look at a raw cacao seed, we can really break down the core components of that cacao seed and understand, what is driving from that main material, what is driving it through to the final product, and is there anything else in nature we can find that has quite similar nutrients or other precursors or very specific things like polyphenols that we can sort of harness and drive towards something that tastes like chocolate, but from something that's not cacao related at all.
And if it was trial and error, Stone would have done it already,
Yeah.
right? People have been working on this for a long time. If it was just throwing darts at a board and trying to see which one would hit, someone else would have done it, so to speak.
When you're talking to Kelsey about the biochemistry of this, yeah, it does make a difference in finding the right combinations. Did you reach out to any ingredient suppliers for suggestions or assistance on choosing your ingredients?
In my mind, it was so far beyond the scope of any normal ask of like, you're not looking for a spec starch or oil, et cetera. Like, we went very upstream in the food cycle, like to the ag producers, and not really the value added ingredient suppliers, because we wanted the unadulterated inputs. So Kelsey, her team, and our manufacturing capabilities could transform them into these final products. And, the secondary materials in between would have given us not really enough room to do what we needed to turn, things like grape seeds, which don't taste like anything that you would enjoy eating, into something like a beautiful chocolate bar.
Well, and that's what also kind of impressed me about, what you had. And I know we're not giving anything away because it's on the label, but grape seeds, do they have any kind of the component? Like, do they have theobromine in them? Do they have theophylline? Do they have any components whatsoever similar to the cacao bean? Or was it really just a matter of their physical properties? If you can talk about that. I don't know if
like things like this is we're not giving anything away. You can find this in the scientific literature databases, but like the methyl xanthines that are in like theobromine that are in cacao are not in these products, which means dogs can eat them, which could be exciting to some people, but those are kind of probably the compounds that are most touted of this is chocolate, right? But when you think of the experience of chocolate, it's really, what are the properties of the proteins and the fibers? What are the degree of polymerization of the phenolics that are in there, right? And so from a like level deeper molecular structure, traditional chocolate is made out of fruit seeds that are relatively high in phenolics. Grape seeds are fruit seeds that are relatively high in phenolics, right? There are myriad of differences and similarities, but very much so, probably in the broadest strokes, more similar than different, even though they have totally different organoleptic perceptions.
Okay. So, well, since we're talking organoleptics, but I will get back to flavor if I can, because again, the most impressive part of what you guys did was recreate the flavor, and it is just such a singular flavor. Like I said, kupuasu had has a very nice chocolate flavor to it, but it's not nature identical. It's got that coffee bag note, which is very pleasant, but it still isn't the same thing. But since we were talking organoleptics first, Kelsey, what texture challenges did you have, and how did you overcome those?
One of the most unique things about chocolate that is most pleasurable for people is the sort of creamy mouthfeel you get when you place it in your mouth. Those Dove commercials that have, the person just totally savoring this piece of chocolate at the end of their day.
And the 96-degree melting point, right?
Yeah. So for us, it was really important that we reduced the ingredients in the chocolate down to a very particular particle size. When you look at really fine cacao, for example, most of them are between 20 and 25 microns, because that is a very below that point, you cease to feel the particles in your mouth. They just become this continuous property that's sort of filling your mouth, and really once you get to that point, it's a lot easier to mimic some of the properties of chocolate that we all know and love in the texture department.
Wow. So right down to the micron level. That's impressive. So actually, I'm going to put a little side question in there, if I may. These very specific ingredients and ingredient structures that you're now doing, is all that done in-house?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, let's, jump to that big question then. What flavor challenges did you have and how did you overcome those?
One of the biggest challenges with something like chocolate, which is a very complex flavor profile, especially, really fine chocolate, is a lot of the compounds that are created through these different processes that have, groups and groups of compounds, not necessarily like when you have a strawberry, for example. You can create pretty good strawberry flavor with just a few discrete compounds. Something like a chocolate bar is a mix of these resulting products of the different processes that the input ingredient is going through. And so one of the challenges, but one of the amazing things about our process and our product is that we don't take the approach that a lot of ingredient companies have taken in the past, which is basically, how do I create the most odorless, flavorless base and then add in flavor from a flavor house on top to try to make it cocoa-like. That's where you get some of those like brownie, really artificial, like if you were to think of like chocolate chapstick almost is what it's like. And what we're really doing is trying to recreate the process so that we can, as much as possible, have the same mix of those final resulting compounds that you find in nature when these things happen naturally, and then also in a processing facility to create, roasted compounds, really lovely, like full bouquet of flavor profile.
Wow, and it is there. Do you use any sort of flavorant or extract from a flavor company?
No.
Wow.
You'll see natural flavors on the label, but those are all kind of, practically all of the experience of odorant, the odor experience from our products is through process, but there's certain compounds and compound classes you can't generate through that, right? Like the blueberry notes in, beautiful Ecuadorian chocolate, like you'll never get that through process, right? At least the types of non-biological processes that we were going under. And so those kind of, the team paints by numbers, but we do all of our own flavor compounding from pure molecules ourselves. So nothing is really outsourced. We have, we're probably a quarter mile away from our first factory right now. And, we have a flavor compounding lab that then moves into the plant, which is then put into the products, et cetera. But it's really, I think we've always thought of the more leverage points we have throughout the entire process, the more areas that we can play with, the more we can tune the final products. And working with flavor houses in some veins felt like we would never have enough control to get to the point that we are today by doing that.
It's almost like a total horizontal integration situation. So that's unusual and uncommon, and I like it.
A lot of people day one, like, you're gonna do what? And we're like, yeah, and we'll have our first factory up and running in 12 months. And they're like, no, you won't. And Kelsey got it done. I burned myself on a few things in the process, but she got the factory up and running in 12 months from our initial founding.
Wow. Now I know that y'all's chocolate replacer can be used for the semi-firm coatings, such as on the cocoa-free chocolate pretzels that you demonstrated at Net Expo. And then jumping over to your hazelnut-free spread replacer, the soft texture that you came out with that, the spread that for legal reasons I know we can't refer to as an analog of Nutella, but can your chocolate replacer be used to create faux chocolate chips or even candy bars, or even, let's take it further, hard chocolate coatings for certain candies?
Yeah, I think in broad strokes, if you're like we're going to set out to make cocoa-free chocolate, right? You're not making one thing. And I think that's a massive difference between what we're doing versus the plant-based dairy space and milk space and the plant-based meat space, right? If you're making ground beef, there aren't ground beef aficionados, right? Ground beef doesn't have 6,000 different types of ground beef, some for applications in ice cream, some in bakery coatings, some in bakery fillings, some in chipped, et cetera. And so what we set out to do, and what Kelsey and her team did such an incredible job at, was we had to make the universe of chocolate. So we have formulas for variegates for ice creams, bake stable chips, bake stable fillings, pre-bake coatings, post-bake coatings, and everything in between. To really be the value add that we wanted to be to industry, we really had to represent the plurality of different chocolates and use cases that the Cargills and Dairy Calvos of the world offer to all their customers every day.
That is something. That is something. I know we're close on time here. Are you able to clue us into what Voyage has in the pipeline without giving away any secrets? What's coming next from you guys?
Our patent lawyers 2 doors down would say, hell no. But there will be other fun stuff. We promise you that.
All right. Nothing you can even give us a hint, huh? So, listen, we're out of time, but we've got to have you guys back when whatever you come up with comes out onto the market. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. I know, between the different time zones and just getting you guys both together and all that, I know it's been a challenge for all of us. So I really appreciate that you did this. I want to thank our audience for joining us. Y'all can find information on this and other topics of importance to food and beverage product developers and manufacturers right here at preparedfoods.com. Again, I'm David Fetter, Executive Editor Technical for Prepared Foods Network, and I was with Adam Maxwell, CEO and founder, and Kelsey Tenney, founding team member and VP of R&D for Voyage Foods, Inc. So please join us next time for some more yummy topics. Bye for now.